So how did it go? Were you successful? Let me show you my approach now. For that, we have to go down to our get places by user ID constant. Again, user ID is fine right here, but our dummy places, this is what we have to work on. And we'll also have a look at the if code. Let's see if we change this too, but this is actually what we should focus on now. So therefore, let's get rid of this code here. And now we can again refer to our place model here. And this time we will not use the find by ID method up here, as I said, but we'll use a different method, the find method. Find generally works similar as find by ID. This means we again do not return a promise here, but you can again use exec if you want to. But again, find still allows us to use async await here or then catch. Again, this is a Mongoose specific feature available right here. It's not a real promise, but you can use this asynchronous operations here. Find has some other important things to keep in mind though. Generally, using find like this would return all places. This means if we want to have a specific place, in our place a specific place by the user ID, we have to add the user ID here as an argument. So in our case, we can use the creator property and refer to user ID as we define it right here in our constant. That's one thing we have to keep in mind. Another thing is that find is available in both MongoDB and Mongoose, which we're using right here. In MongoDB, find returns a so-called cursor. A cursor simply points towards the results of our find method here of the query we did, and it then allows you to iterate through the different results you would have. The reason for that is that if you would imagine you would have hundreds of places in here, so hundreds of documents, it would avoid to bloat your data immediately and to return big amounts of data. So that's the way how MongoDB approaches this. So you get back a cursor and then can iterate through the different results. In Mongoose, find doesn't provide a cursor, but directly an array. We could also get a cursor in Mongoose, by the way. To do so, we could use the cursor property on our find method, instead of only using just find. That's what you have to keep in mind here. So we're using the Mongoose find method. We are now adding the creator property, and therefore we can filter for the specific document where the creator has the user ID we are looking for in our GET request. This means we can now again add our try catch code block here, put the constant into it. With that, our constant is not available anymore due to block scoping. Therefore, we can create let places outside of our try block and get rid of the constant, and also make sure that this again becomes an asynchronous task. Again, we have a find operation. Therefore, we'll add async up here and await front of our place model. And we also catch our error. Again, with the same logic we had before. Let's again use the constant, which should be a new HTTP error here. And let's say that this should return fetching places failed. Please try again later. And again, that's the logic we have in the 500 error case. So in case anything goes wrong with the request in general. And here we also have to add return next again. With that, this should work fine. Down here, this code could also be refactored. So this way, so that we store the error in a constant. But to show you both ways again, let's this time keep it this way. As I said, you can adjust this to be in line with the rest of the code. But just for demonstration purposes as part of this course, I will just keep this the way it is. But down here, our response has to be adjusted once again. There is a little thing that you have to keep in mind. This was a bit more tricky, I must say, but maybe you did it. In case you have problems, we'll solve it together now. Because again, we have to add a method to our places here, but this time we cannot use our toObject method up here, because the problem is that, as I said, find returns an array right here, and we cannot use toObject with an array. Therefore, we have to use map here, a standard JavaScript method. And with map now being in place, we can again use place toObject right here, and then apply our getters feature to make sure that the underscore from our ID property is removed. So getters is again set to true. And with that, if we now go back to Postman and create a new GET request here, again to HTTP localhost 5000. But this time we have to go to our user's routes. So we go to API /places /user / and now U2. So the ID of our user right here. Let's add this. Let's press send. Yeah, this looks fine. We get back our response. We again get the ID without the underscore. So getters also works fine. And again, if I would now use, let's say U3 right here, click send, you see we could not find places for the provided user ID. So this is this error right here, which is also working fine. And with that, we finished R, so read, in our CRUD feature chain right here. Let's now continue with updating places.